Deadlight Protocol. In a near-future dystopia where the dead can be weaponized through a Black Ops project known as the Deadlight Protocol, elite operative Cassian Vale is infected during a mission gone wrong. Now he's caught between life and death, half human, half spectral, and hunted by the very agency he served. Cassian kidnaps Dr. Mira Chin, the scientist responsible for the program, to find a cure. But Mira is hiding her own motives, and a buried past that links them both to a supernatural war older than science. As rogue spirits break through reality and global chaos brews, the two must team up, fight off monstrous revenants, and stop the final phase of the Deadlight Protocol, before it consumes the world. The breakpoint. The desert night was unnaturally still. No wind, no howling jackals, no stars, just the hum of tension crawling under Agent Cassian Vale's skin. He crouched behind a crumbling wall on the outskirts of the dead research compound, scanning the infrared feed on his visor. Red silhouettes flickered erratically across the screen. Whatever was moving inside that building wasn't fully right. 01, confirm breach perimeter, came the voice of command in his earpiece. Cassian pressed his finger to the comms. Perimeter clear. Movement detected inside, pattern irregular. Proceeding with caution. Copy that. Watch your 6. We lost contact with Alpha Team 17 minutes ago. He didn't need reminding. The last footage from Alpha had shown screaming, black blood, and something peeling out of the shadows that looked nothing like human physiology. Cassian exhaled and raised his weapon. He was a seasoned operative, genetically enhanced, trained for impossible odds. But even he felt it now, the air around the compound had thickened. Like something ancient was watching. He gave the signal. His 3 squad mates ghosted from cover and followed him into the main corridor. Inside, the walls were scorched, lights stuttering with intermittent sparks. Blood, some red, some thick and tar-like, streaked the floor. They stepped over a torn comms unit, still crackling. Jesus, muttered Lane, the medic, as they passed a row of slumped corpses in lab coats. What the hell happened here? Containment breach, Cassian replied curtly, though even he didn't believe the official line anymore. This wasn't just biowarfare. The energy here felt sentient. They reached the inner lab doors, steel reinforced, partially melted. Cassian placed his hand on the keypad. Ready up. The door hissed open. Inside, the lights flickered once and revealed carnage. What was left of Alpha Team lay scattered in pieces. In the center of the room stood a containment chamber, cracked open from the inside. Its walls were etched with markings that pulsed faintly as though breathing. Cassian stepped closer, his rifle raised. The runes on the chamber weren't scientific. They were ancient, carved with purpose, with intent. Something moved behind him. He spun too late. A cold, invisible force slammed into his chest, flinging him across the room. His back struck a console, pain lancing through him. His helmet sparked as it cracked, and in that moment he saw it. A shadow. A figure made of smoke and blood, standing where no man should. No eyes. Just a mouth, wide with a grin that knew his name. Cassian. It spoke inside his head. He tried to fire. Couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The creature rushed him, faster than thought, and vanished into his chest. Cassian collapsed, convulsing. Heat surged through his veins. A scream tried to rise, but something gripped it, pressed it down. Inside his skull, a voice whispered again. Thank you, for letting me in. When Cassian woke, the lab was silent. His visor was shattered. Lane, Juno, Rafe, gone. He sat up slowly. No blood. No bruises. But he felt it. Something had changed. He looked at his reflection in a cracked screen. His eyes, once gray, now flickered faintly with a glow that didn't belong to the living. And beneath his skin, something was smiling. The last operation. 3 days later, Cassian Vale stood in the center of a debriefing room deep within Division's London command bunker, his arms behind his back, jaw tight. The fluorescent lighting buzzed overhead, but the low murmur of analysts behind mirrored glass never ceased. He was being watched, evaluated, dissected. He could feel it in his bones, like static crawling beneath his skin. Or maybe that was just it, still inside him. Still coiled like a serpent, waiting. General Armitage leaned forward from behind the metal desk. His iron-gray hair was slicked back, metals shining like accusations. You claim your team was overrun. That you encountered something non-human? Yes, sir, Cassian replied. We were ambushed, but not by insurgents. There were no hostiles. No intel leaks. Whatever killed them was already inside the compound. It came out of the containment chamber marked Omega-3. And the package? Destroyed, Cashin lied. Armitage narrowed his eyes. There's no body cam footage. My helmet was damaged, he replied flatly. Armitage sat back, lips thinning. Cashin, I'm going to be clear with you. You're not to speak about this incident to anyone. We're classifying the operation under silent code parameters. The official report will state Alpha and Beta teams were lost due to experimental gas exposure and mental breakdown. Cashin's jaw clenched. With respect, sir, you're covering it up. We're containing it, Armitage corrected coldly. You're a valuable asset. Don't make me reclassify you as expendable. Cashin's hands curled into fists. He could hear something under Armitage's voice now. Not tone. Not words. A whisper. He lies. The man lies. He always did. Strike him. He's just flesh. You are more. Cashin gritted his teeth and forced the voice away. The thing inside him had been quiet since the lab. But now, surrounded by uniforms and deception, it stirred. Something was broken in the division. And he was starting to think the Deadlight protocol hadn't just backfired, it had been designed to fail. Later, in the changing room, he scrubbed his face with cold water. Stared into the mirror. His reflection lagged for a fraction of a second. The glow in his eyes returned, faint. Like the ember of a fire that wouldn't die. He looked down at his chest. No marks. No scars. But he felt it. The hum of something ancient threading through his bloodstream. Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. A voice, target secured. Commence transition to Black Site 7. Cashin tensed. They weren't releasing him. They were transferring him. To a site that didn't officially exist. They'd decided he was compromised. He didn't wait. Cashin moved fast, muscles guided by instinct and something more. 2 guards entered the corridor just as he burst through the door. He disarmed the first with a crack to the wrist, knocked the second into the wall with an unnatural shove that left a dent in the concrete. Adrenaline surged. No, power. Like he was moving a half-second faster than the world. Let go, the voice whispered. You're stronger than them now. Let me show you. He pushed it down. Gritted through it. He wouldn't lose himself. Not yet. He made it out of the compound by hot-wiring an unmarked vehicle and heading north, towards the only lead he had left. Dr. Mirachin. Lead researcher. Specialist in bioneural weaponization. One of the architects of the Deadlight protocol. And rumored to have gone dark weeks before the Cairo mission, just as the serum was entering live testing. If anyone knew what had happened to him, it was her. And if she was part of this, part of the lies, they'd both get answers. Or bleed for them. The target? The rain came hard as Cashin Vale stood across the street from a converted glass and steel clinic tucked between a coffee house and a private gallery in Camden Town. Officially, it was a neurological recovery center. Unofficially, it was one of the many aliases Dr. Mira Chen had taken since vanishing from division records. Cashin watched the entrance from the shadows, collar turned up, hoodie pulled low over his face. The night was cold and the city buzzed with neon and taxi horns, but inside him something coiled like a live wire. He'd been tracking Mira for 2 days, moving across safe houses, back channels, and defunct access codes. The woman knew how to disappear. But not well enough. Not from him. Mira Chin emerged just after 10 p.m., clutching a folder, her posture precise and her pace controlled. She wore a charcoal gray coat and kept her dark hair tied neatly in a low twist. Her eyes scanned the street the way a surgeon might examine a wound, clinical, exact, untrusting. Cashin followed her through the damp alleys of North London, careful not to let her spot him. He didn't need her to run. He needed her to talk. But somewhere between the second and third turn she paused. Then she vanished. Shit. A needle jabbed into his neck from behind. Cashin spun violently, grabbing her wrist and slamming her into the alley wall before she could inject the full dose. Mira grunted, heels scraping on wet pavement. He pulled the syringe from his neck and tossed it aside. You're not very welcoming for someone with a lot to answer for. Mira didn't flinch. You tracked me. You cornered me. What did you expect? Tea and biscuits. Her voice was sharp, British accent with a faint undertone of something clipped, scientific. She looked him dead in the eye, no fear, even with his hand still around her wrist. I expected the woman who designed the Deadlight protocol to be a little less smug. Her expression didn't change, but her eyes darkened. You're infected. Cashin loosened his grip but didn't let go. You're going to help me. Or I'll find someone who can. Mira arched a brow. That's the thing about Deadlight, Mr. Vale. No one can help you. They moved to an abandoned parking garage nearby. Mira tossed her coat over the bonnet of a derelict car and opened her folder, revealing scans, old lab notes, and a blood analysis. She gestured to a worn seat. Sit down. You'll want to hear this. Cashin sat. Mira remained standing. You were exposed to Subject Omega. Name rings a bell. She ignored his sarcasm. We didn't invent Deadlight to heal soldiers. We developed it to anchor consciousness, to weaponize the soul itself. Only it didn't work as intended. No, it worked too well, Cashin growled. Something came through. Myra's lips thinned. Not just something. A gate opened. The serum destabilized the boundary between death and life. That's why Division shut it down. But they didn't destroy the research. They adapted it. For control. He stared at her. You were part of this. I left when I realized what they were turning it into. They want revenants, Mr. Vale. Not soldiers. They want obedient ghosts. And now I've got one stuck inside me. Mira looked at him then, really looked, and for a flicker of a moment something softened. How long since the voice started? Since the lab. It whispers things. Threats. Offers. Like it's waiting. She opened her folder again and slid a printout across the bonnet. It was a scan of a human brain, but it pulsed with faint threads of black light curling like roots. That's not just infection. That's cohabitation. If the spirit inside you anchors fully, it'll overwrite your consciousness. Cashin stood. Then we stop it. Mira held his gaze. There might be a way. But I need access to the original core files. Cairo. The Black Vault. Cashin's blood turned cold. Those files are sealed. Division wiped them after the mission. She shook her head. No. Someone kept a copy. And I know who. Who? Mira looked away. Your old team. The ones who survived Cairo. Elijah Chin. My cousin. Cashin blinked. Elijah's alive? He's working with a resistance cell. Off-grid. South of Edinburgh. If we're going to save you, and shut this down, we need him. Cashin nodded slowly. The stakes were rising. And so were the ghosts. All right, he said. We go north. Mira gathered the files and stepped back into her coat. One more thing. What? You're not just a host anymore. You're the last viable Deadlight vessel. That makes you valuable. And very, very hunted. Cashin glanced up at the sky. The rain had stopped, but the clouds remained. Heavy. Watching. Let them come, he muttered. I've already died once.